Amid a torrent of national outrage and widespread protests over the Supreme Court's grotesque decision to shred abortion rights, Republicans are shamelessly claiming that it's Democrats who are staging riots by peacefully protesting. And on top of that, they're trying to gaslight everybody into thinking nothing has been banned as a result of this decision. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Tens of thousands of outraged Americans poured into the streets over the weekend to channel their grief and indignation over the fact that the right to bodily autonomy of women and pregnant people was incinerated by a corrupt gang of unaccountable right-wing theocrats who definitely think the Scarlet Letter was a comedy, including the racist neighbor who calls the cops when your leaves blow on his lawn, Mike Pence's son or dad, and the sniveling rich kid who buys the town rec center and bulldozes it to build a luxury condo. You can hold all the fundraisers you want. You'll never raise enough money to save your precious indoor pool. Poll after poll after poll has shown that a large majority of Americans are opposed to overturning Roe, and that majority showed up in large numbers over the weekend in a series of nationwide protests.
The decision sent tens of thousands of people into the streets this weekend to protest.
There were nonstop demonstrations over the weekend, and they're expected to continue.
All day long, the crowds have been steadily building here at Washington Square Park across the nation. At least 100 demonstrations are planned in the coming days.
I'm most worried about what comes next because Roe versus Wade was a precedent for Obergefell versus Hodges, Loving versus Virginia, Irving versus Texas, gay marriage, interracial marriage, and privacy in the bedroom. And those, as Clarence Thomas came out yesterday, they're going to be falling like dominoes.
Yeah, that's right. And let me just note for a moment the difference between the protesters at a pro-abortion rights rally who are deeply familiar with the jurisprudence and have read the text of Clarence Thomas's concurring opinion, and say the dinguses who showed up to the Capitol on January 6th hopped up on forwarded emails and Reddit threads to jack lecterns and dress like werewolves from a crappy role-playing game that came out on Sega Genesis in 1994. Uh-oh, you've been bitten by a QAnon werewolf. You must obtain a health elixir from the town wizard to regain 10 life points. Then get tested for rabies, because that dude's a freak. And yeah, I made sure to call it a lectern this time because a bunch of jackals in our YouTube comment section lost their every time I called it a podium, because I guess that's the real crime from January 6th. And let me just say, as a general rule, that, and this is just me speaking, it feels like a bad sign when we have to know this many names of Supreme Court cases. I open Twitter, I see some new horrifying case trending like New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin, in which the court magically invented a constitutional right to concealed carry, or Carson v. Macon, in which the court forced local governments to fund religious schools, or Wally v. Spellcheck, in which the court found that our cue card guy Wally is not required to double-check the spelling on the cue cards.
It looks right to me, Seth.
It's wrong, and you know it's wrong.
Sorry, take it up with the courts.
This is, suffice it to say, a radical court just mowing down precedents they don't like and selectively reading whatever they want in the Constitution to further their brazen ideological agenda. They literally just pick and choose the clauses they like and ignore the ones they don't, like the one that prohibits the government from respecting an establishment of religion, or the one that says guns are for a well-regulated militia, or the one that says, oh, no citizen shall ever be denied the right to use a teleprompter. Oh, interesting. Did you ever notice that one, Wally?
Expand the court!
Wally! So Americans are understandably outraged that a rogue court just decided on a whim to shred abortion rights purely because it could, and went even further, essentially announcing, through Thomas's concurrence, that it would target contraception, marriage equality, and privacy next. And yet the shameless weirdos on the right, instead of confronting the reality for millions of Americans who just lost a fundamental constitutional right, putting their health at risk and relegating them to second-class status, chose absurdly to accuse pro-abortion activists of staging riots.
When you look at the Democrats, if they do not get their way, what do? They go out and they riot.
The left doesn't know how absurd they look. They're fighting, they're having these hissy fits. Every time they don't like something, they hit the streets, they become violent.
Protests, vandalism erupting across the country from Portland to Washington, D.C., immediately following the Supreme Court's abortion ruling Friday.
I don't think anything's going to calm down the far left. They're always looking for something to scream about and burn buildings over.
Whenever a news story happens that Fox knows is bad for Republicans politically, like overturning an overwhelmingly popular constitutional right, Fox tries to pivot by convincing your grandparents that Antifa is currently outside their house right now, threatening to steal their flagstones and take their lawn gnomes hostage. Hello, 911, there's a socialist outside my house attacking my mailbox. Yes, I know he's a liberal because he's wearing short shorts. They love to do this childish thing where they accuse the left of doing the thing they actually did, like they're the ones who fomented a violent coup to overthrow the government. Today, we literally found out from shocking testimony that Trump wanted his supporters to march to the Capitol armed and said security should let them through with weapons. But if someone holds up a sign that says, "My body, my choice," right-wingers lose their These liberal protesters just march wherever they want. At least when we tried to hang Mike Pence, we were courteous enough to give him a 5-minute warning by chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." We gave him a head start. And when they're not lying and calling the left violent, they're lying and calling the left hysterical because, again, they're aware that this could be bad for them politically. So they're trying to have it both ways. They want to celebrate the victory while also gaslighting everyone into thinking nothing has actually been banned.
The Supreme Court didn't outlaw it. What they did was move it back to the states.
What is so interesting to me, calls coming into our office, when they would say, "Oh, we don't want a ban on abortion," we would say, "Well, it's not."
This is not a ban on abortions across the country. This puts this back in the hands of the people.
The liberals are misstating this. Abortion is not banned in all states.
I don't think we can emphasize enough, abortion is not illegal. It's not been outlawed.
If you watch some of these tweets and you see some of this reporting, you think abortion's been banned. Nothing's been banned.
Nothing's been banned? Are you insane? This is the Jedi mind trick I've ever seen. Of course, with a Jedi mind trick, you usually need to be able to project calm, and Hannity is incapable of that. These are not the droids you're looking for. They are Hunter Biden's droids. Rudy Giuliani got them at a junk market from Jar Jar Binks. Rudy joins us now. Sean, you're not going to believe what me's going to tell you. 13 states have trigger laws that either made abortion instantly illegal as soon as the decision was handed down or will make it illegal very soon. And there are several more states that are likely to join, meaning all or most abortions could soon be illegal or severely restricted in at least 20 states, if not more. This ruling was not theoretical. It put millions of women and people who can become pregnant in jeopardy immediately. These guys don't issue hypothetical rulings. It's a rogue court hell-bent on remaking America as an authoritarian right-wing theocracy. Conservatives have shattered the court and shredded whatever remaining legitimacy it may have had. This is an institution that counts among its members 2 who have been credibly accused of sexual misconduct, several who lied to Congress to get the gig in the first place, at least 1 whose seat was stolen, another whose family made money from right-wing groups and didn't report it, and who ruled on cases implicating his spouse, who was directly involved in a coup to overthrow the United States government, and another who, during his confirmation hearing, claimed there was a shadowy plot to destroy him, orchestrated by, among other people, the Clintons.
This whole 2-week effort has been a calculated and orchestrated political hit, fueled with apparent pent-up anger about President Trump and the 2016 election, fear that has been unfairly stoked about my judicial record, revenge on behalf of the Clintons.
Remember that? Talk about hysterical. Are we all just supposed to go back to pretending this guy can be a fair-minded judge who puts partisan politics aside after he essentially accused Hillary Clinton of sneaking into his closet and writing beers with PJ and Squee on his high school calendar? Not to mention the fact that a majority of the conservative justices on the court have been appointed by Republican presidents who lost the popular vote, including 3 by Trump, who lost twice by a combined 10 million votes. One of his appointees even posed with him on the White House balcony for a political photo op 8 days before the election, like they were ushering in the 75th annual Hunger Games. May the odds be ever in your favor. We love the Hunger Games, don't we, folks? We love. Everybody loves Katniss Everdeen, but for my money, the king of the Hunger Games, Joey Chestnut. Joey Chestnut. When it comes to the Hunger Games, you can't beat Joey. I met him once at Coney Island. The great Joey Chestnut, he walked up to me. I'll never forget tears in his eyes. He walked up to me. I'll never forget what he said. He said, "Ooh." The Supreme Court has been revealed as a corrupt and anti-democratic institution whose conservative majority has shredded whatever legitimacy it may have had by dismantling a widely popular constitutional right to bodily autonomy purely because it could. It's a rogue court that just cherry picks the precedents and the parts of the Constitution they like and discards the ones they don't. That's it. Their opinions aren't serious legal documents. They're just wordy, judicial.
Hissy fits.
This has been A Closer Look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with HIV, AIDS, cancer, and other serious illnesses, and they need your help. Now more than ever, if you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, get vaccinated. We love you.